Pep Guardiola and Enzo Maresca have a somewhat similar system of play and a philosophy of football. And that philosophy of football is pegged on one thing in attack, and that is the exploitation of space. You see, space is so important for Pep and Enzo Maresca. It is the weapon that allows Manchester City and Chelsea under Maresca to actually get the best out of their opponents. Space also allows their teams to position their players where they are able to disorient the opposition's defensive structure. And this is going to form the basics of our discussion in our video today. As you can see in this brief Manchester City clip, you can see how Manchester City are able to position their players on either zones of the pitch, looking to try and exploit spaces between the lines as well as in the half spaces. Now, Pep Guardiola, famously known as the one who evolved positional play football system, is actually credited with how he has come up with modern ways to actually exploit space in football. And so we begin. Enzo Maresca and Pep Guardiola have this philosophy that helps them to actually have an edge over their opposition. And Enzo Maresca seems to actually perfecting this thing towards his latter stages of a Chelsea team. Remember, Chelsea were quite different when Maresca was taking over. And the Chelsea that we have now is close to what Maresca is actually earmarking Chelsea to be. We are actually entering into the last phase of Maresca's project. And in our video today, I'm going to explain to you what is this weakness that Maresca wants to create in oppositions. And what are these two systems of play in attack than the spaces that they actually create? And this is going to form the topic of our discussion today. And these are the half spaces and between the lines. Half spaces are so different from between the lines, but Maresca uses both of them in his system. So what is the half spaces and what is playing in between the lines? Now, the lines refers to the defensive, midfield, and the attacking line that a team has when they are looking to defend. Most teams might sit in a 4-4-2, other teams might decide to sit in a 4-2-3-1, and it heavily depends on how the opposition team wants to set itself up, with the main aim to prevent central progression, deny any space. Sometimes the defense line might drop deep to try and prevent balls over the top, and that might create space between the lines, between the defense line, between the midfield line. And this might make the midfield line to drop deep to try and narrow that gap. Now, when that happens is that this team has already reduced the spaces between its lines, but the space between the attacking line and the midfield line is still there, and the opposition can position the players behind the attacking line to actually look to draw players so that they are able to play passes in the squeezed up spaces. And that is one way of exploiting the space between the midfield and defense line. And now you can now understand what I mean when I say about playing in between the lines. Playing in between the lines is more to do with verticality. It's more to do with exploiting the vertical space. Now, let's look at both teams here. We have Team Red, we have Team Blue. Team Blue probably Chelsea. And then Chelsea is trying to create overloads against Team Red. And what you notice is that Chelsea might try to have their players playing in between the lines. And that's why famous concepts such as the false nine have been so famous, in that you find a number 9 dropping in between the lines, that is between the defense line and the midfield line. And once this number 9 drops into this position, what you notice is that he automatically draws out an opposition center back from his position, receives the ball, and yet another number 10 or a far side winger makes run beyond him. And that is exploiting the lines vertically by dropping between the lines. You are able to create that space in the opposition backline by disorienting it, courtesy of the movement of the number 9. Now we move on to one of the most crucial areas of the pitch, which is how the team looks to attack the defensive line horizontally, meaning that look at the in between the lines. You are attacking the opposition vertically, meaning that you are moving with the ball high up the pitch. You are picking up players in between the lines, quick one-touch football. Boom! You have dragged players, disoriented the back line, and now you're looking to attack, looking to have cutbacks, looking to have crosses. And playing in between the lines involves moving the ball vertically. But sometimes to have the ball to move vertically, you're also supposed to open spaces between the lines now in a horizontal way. And this opening of spaces between the lines is what we find in Pep Guardiola's grid-like football structure that sees the horizontal vertical spaces of the pitch divided into three: the wide space, the half space, and the central space. And this is how Guardiola likes and the positional play managers like to set up their pitch, meaning that they want to exploit all areas. Those lines actually move relative to the way the defense line moves, because the half space is generally the space between the opposition fullback and center back, in that both of them cannot be too close to each other, while the spaces in between the lines is the spaces between the back line and the midfield line, while the half space is the distance between the defensive pair, that is the center back and the fullback. And how is Enzo Maresca going to use this weapon to actually see Chelsea win the Premier League, or even less, challenge for the Premier League next season? And that is the topic of our discussion. So if you've reached here, probably you have enjoyed this video. We do a lot in this channel. Just like, share, and subscribe. And we proceed. So Pep and Maresca learning from Pep, has understood why the half space is important. And I want to answer this question. Why is the half space important? Why not use the other in between the lines, the wide areas or the central areas? Why the half space? You see, the half space and in between the lines can actually be complemented to each other. Now, let's look at the wide space. The player in the wide space can either pass the ball forward, backward, or in field. That means this player is limited to his individual capabilities. But when it comes to passing, he is even far from goal, so he's not a goal threat. So looking to rely heavily to overload the wide areas should be a means for you to draw in a fullback so that you're able to create space between the fullback and the center back, where the wide player can look to attack. Now, let's look at the central areas. Now, in the central areas, here is where you find the problem. Now, the central areas are usually much clogged out. They are very packed. So the player in the central area is not able to actually look to create and move the ball and thread the ball. So he doesn't have that time. Now, let's compare it to the half space. The half space player is slightly withdrawn from the central areas. He's not playing so wide. And in this position, he can play the ball to the other winger, the other half space player, the striker, and he can even play the ball relative to his ball side winger. And he can even play the ball back to the central midfielder. That now you get the notion that the half space player has a lot of space, and he also is in a good position to actually have a shot on goal. And who's an example of this terrific player? One example of such a good player is Kevin De Bruyne, and he has done this spectacularly for Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. But one player is emerging under Enzo Maresca, and that is Cole Palmer, who's also doing it quite well. Now, let's look at this. Cole Palmer has been Chelsea's shining spark. But why is it? Because Palmer is able to occupy these spaces. Look at how Palmer is dropping in between the lines. He's now forced to drag Rodri out of position. Rodri comes in, a simple nutmeg, and look, now Palmer is running towards Manchester City's backline. And look at the number of Chelsea's attacking Manchester City's backline. It's actually a 5v4. Here again, Palmer drops deep, pulls the center back out of position, creates space for Jackson. And Palmer keeps on doing this time and time again. Here, Palmer drops deep, receives the ball, plays the ball forward. Newcastle are looking to press Chelsea. Colwill has the ball, can play a simple pass to Palmer. Palmer draws out Danban, and now space opens up in Newcastle's backline. Palmer flicks the ball into that space. Jackson is able to play that ball back to Cole Palmer, and Chelsea are now ahead. And you can notice that all these attacking patterns are coming from the position that Cole Palmer is picking. And which positions are these that Cole Palmer is picking? The in between the lines position. Here again, Palmer drops he drops so deep, drags a player out of position. Sorry, this is Madueke. Palmer picks the ball in between the lines, plays the ball into that space because he knows very well that the center back has been drawn out of position. Here again, Palmer receives this ball, plays that ball. He plays that ball in space. And why is Palmer able to play this ball? Because Palmer is occupying the most dangerous place, which is the spaces between the lines. And he knows that because he's such a threat, once he receives the ball, he will draw opposition defenders away from the defense line, disorient the back line, and immediately look to move from a defensive structure to an attacking structure. And these chaotic moments is what has made Palmer to be so lethal. And he's one of the players in the Premier League who understands the concept of exploiting space. Here, Jackson is the one who dropped deep. Palmer made that run beyond Jackson, and you can see Palmer is able to score that goal. Not only does he drop that space, he also identifies when the striker drops deep. Here, he receives the ball, plays the ball into a nice area for Jackson to finish. All this happens because he has occupied the half space, the space between the centre back and the full back, what I've just been telling you. So, you notice that Palmer has been so dangerous occupying this position. But not only Palmer, because Palmer is dropping so deep to occupy this position and constantly dropping in between the lines, Maresca identified that if he heavily relies on Palmer to be the one doing this job, then Palmer might actually be marked out of the game. So he changed. Now what you notice is that not only does Palmer does this down the right, we are seeing even Enzo Fernandez now being used down the left to do the similar thing. Meaning that now, not only Palmer is the one who's dropping deep and looking to create those areas, Chelsea are creating those areas of threat from both flanks, both the left and the right half space. And you are all able to see how these creative players dropping in between the lines actually opens up space for players to make runs. Here, Palmer drops deep, takes out two defenders, he's able to dribble one simple pass, and he's now in front of goal. And this is something that is short of just saying that this is absolutely remarkable from Cole Palmer. And he's actually turning out to be one of the players who knows to understand space. And you are also seeing it nowadays with Fernandes. Look at this goal, replica to the goal that he scored in the Club World Cup. It all comes from him attacking that half space that has been left when the fullback is now drawn to the wide wingers. And that is what is creating space for Cole Palmer. And PSG actually allowed Palmer to have this space. And you can see every goal that Palmer is scoring, every assist that Palmer is scoring is coming from the half spaces. Meaning that Palmer is able to identify that space. And once he's able to identify that space, he's able to be very lethal. Here again, in the English national team, look at where Palmer is taking the shot. In the half space position. Not in the central position, in the half space position. Here again, he scores from the left half space position. And constantly when you look at the number of goals that Palmer is scoring, where are those goals coming from? The half space. So, this is not just something that Palmer is doing. No. This is something that Maresca is coaching. And you are seeing Enzo Fernandez actually moving there. You're seeing Enzo Fernandez making those late runs in the half space. You're seeing Enzo Fernandez making those shots in the half space. And what you see next season is Maresca using his twin tens to manipulate the half space. Not only using his twin tens, even using players such as Marco Kurela to advance, to attack, manipulate these spaces. And this might just be the secret weapon that pushes Chelsea to the Premier League title and the Champions League. What do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section area below. Once again, thanks for watching.